What's up everyone, welcome back to another C55 vlog. And in today's vlog I kind of wanted to talk about the new Koenigsegg Regera because it is such a stunning car and it blew so many people's minds, including mine, away when they released it at Geneva. But before we get into that, I first wanted to kind of start off by filling you guys in with what's going on with the go-kart. So the last video I put out was last Friday night, and that was me and Will doing some more cutting and welding, and we haven't really had any time to do any more of the go-kart because we both have finals next week, and we've been, you know, buried in our books, our textbooks, studying for these tests, and trust us, we've been dying to get to this go-kart and film more. And Will's going to be coming down this weekend to study, but I think we're going to take a few study breaks and actually do some of the go-karts, so we'll hopefully get some good footage of that. Our plan is to start welding the actual frame. We think we have enough practice with welding so far, just to kind of get some tack welds on to get everything set in stone or set in place before we send it off to the welder. But that's the what's going on with the go-kart right now. So you guys can probably expect a video sometime early next week because we'll be filming it this weekend. So enough with that, let's get on to the Koenigsegg Regera. So Koenigsegg revealed their new mega car at the Geneva Motor Show. I think it was like a week or two ago, somewhere on there. I don't know exactly when, but they definitely hyped this thing up, and it was probably the most anticipated car for Geneva of 2015. The fact that they call it a mega car, no one really knew what that meant. I mean, you know, car companies can claim, you know, oh, it's a hypercar, it's a mega car, it's a, you know, I don't know. They can claim all they want, and it only really tells, you know, until we see numbers and, you know, track performance and Nürburgring times or whatever you want to gauge cars' performance by. But basically why I wanted to talk about this car is because me being an engineer and studying engineering, the engineering work that went into this car, and how, I mean, the car is sophisticated, but at the same time it's very simple, and that's what you want as an engineer when you design, you know, mechanical systems. You want them to be, you know, sophisticated enough so they, you know, work well, they work efficiently, but also at the same time you don't want all these moving parts, because when you have more moving parts, that's more likely something is going to break or, you know, need to be replaced through normal wear and tear. And basically, after watching some videos online, including like Shmi150's video where Christian von Koenigsegg actually, you know, walks us around the car and kind of talks about each feature that the Regera has over top of the their current cars, such as the Regera and the CCX and all their previous generation Koenigsegg's. And when they came out and announced this, they call it KDD, which is Koenigsegg Direct Drive. And basically that allows the car to not have a transmission. If you guys haven't heard, you know, the car's been all over the internet, but for those that haven't heard, the Koenigsegg Regera does not have a transmission. And that's simply because Christian von Koenigsegg and the engineers at Koenigsegg came out with this awesome system called Direct Drive. And basically what this Direct Drive is it's an engine coupled with electric motors to, you know, use each of the, you know, use the electric motor's instant torque, and then also the, you know, the twin turbo V8's massive amount of horsepower. And when you couple those two together, you get a lot of very well-rounded performance numbers. When they first announced that this car was powered by this direct drive system, I was trying to figure out like how this mechanical system worked, and I was way overcomplicating it when I actually found a video that was released a few days ago from this Engineering Explained. And if you guys haven't seen Engineering Explained's channel, he goes through all sorts of different components on a car and how they work, and I'm really glad he came out with this video because he not only explained it a lot better, but he also had a visual, so it was easy to visualize it. So I'll include a link below, so if you guys want to check that out, that's pretty cool. And that helped me understand it. I had a general understanding of how it worked, but that kind of solidified it and, you know, reassured me exactly how the car works. And basically what it is it's a hybrid system. You have a gasoline engine coupled with 3 electric motors. And the gasoline engine, I'm pretty sure, is out of all their other cars. It's a twin turbo V8, 5 liters, producing 1100 horsepower. That's just ridiculous in itself. Like, that's more than, you know, the P1, the 918. I mean, that's just crazy. And then on top of that gasoline engine, you have 2 electric motors on each side of the rear axle. So there's 2 electric motors. I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, so don't quote me. I think they're 240 horsepower each, maybe. But anyways, you have 2 electric motors going right to the rear wheels on each side of the axle. And then the 3rd electric motor is connected to the front end, basically the end of the engine that's closest to the driver. That is connected directly to the crankshaft of the engine. And that motor serves kind of multiple purposes. It serves as the starter motor, so when you turn the car on, that electric motor is what turns the crankshaft and starts turning the pistons to get the engine started. And then it also serves as a power supply. So basically, the electric motor can send torque through the crankshaft of the gasoline engine going directly back to the axle. So it can supply power basically through the gasoline engine, which is pretty cool. And how this direct drive system works is so imagine a car with a manual transmission. And if you're sitting at a stop sign or stoplight and you put the car in like a very high gear, let's say 5th gear, and you try and go from a stop, the car is going to be very boggy and juddery, and it's going to be very slow in acceleration because that 5th gear is designed for top end speed, not acceleration. That's the way the gearing is for that. And so how Koenigsegg copes with this kind of gearing issue was that they used the 2 electric motors connected to the rear axle to power the car and get the car up to speed from a stop and from slower speeds. So basically, the 2 electric motors connected to the rear axle get the car going and its main, you know, power supply and source of torque to about 30 miles an hour. And one thing that I didn't mention yet is, so you have the gasoline engine, and then on the rear part of that gasoline engine, there's a crankshaft coming out, and connected to that crankshaft is a hydraulic coupler. And what a hydraulic coupler is it's something that as it spins faster and faster, it shrinks in size on the, it's kind of hard to explain, but I'll do my best. And basically, as it spins faster and faster, the hydraulic coupler shrinks in size and basically couples down onto the crankshaft drive, and it connects right to the rear axle and the differential. And the electric motors, as I was saying, they power the car. They mainly power the car up until about 30 miles an hour. Then once you hit 30 miles an hour, or around 1,000 engine RPM of the gasoline engine, the hydraulic coupler starts to close down on the shaft, and then that's where the direct drive comes in. And the crankshaft that's turning from the pistons in the gasoline engine are now directly turning this direct drive system, which is in the end going right to the differential. And when they say there's 1 gear, they basically mean that the gearing in the differential, that's the 1 gear. It's not like there's a transmission with 1 gear. So that crankshaft is coupled down by this hydraulic coupler that engages as the RPMs get higher. And then you have the gasoline engine now supplying power right to the differential, then which goes right to the rear wheels. And at the same time, you have all 3 electric motors still supplying power throughout, you know, whatever speed you're going. It just may not be as efficient or effective when you get up to higher speeds. That's why, like, if you've noticed, if you ever watch a video of like a Tesla versus an Aventador, there's a video that's been going around the internet recently, and from the line, the Tesla beats the Aventador, you know, from say 0 to 30 miles an hour. That's because electric motors, the way they're designed, is the minute you supply a current through this electric motor, it gives the maximum torque that motor can supply. And that's what gets the car off the line so quickly. And that's why Koenigsegg utilized those electric motors to get the car going from a stop to about 30 miles an hour. And basically, the gasoline engine is, when you get to top speed, which is about 250 miles an hour, it's going to be at redline, which is 8,250 RPMs. And so as you're going, the gasoline engine is just slowly building up more revs as you get higher and higher in speed. And I think this system is absolutely incredible. Now you may be thinking, like, how is this so simple? It seems very complicated. Well, if you look at other cars that, like the LaFerrari and the P1 and the 918, that all incorporate this hybrid technology, they're very complicated systems, and they also have transmissions. And you know, Koenigsegg's big reason to get rid of this transmission, get rid of a transmission and use this direct drive, is to save weight, because you know, transmissions take up, they're pretty heavy. And that was one of the reasons that Christian von Koenigsegg wanted to get rid of the transmission and use this direct drive system. And I just kind of like, I'm kind of fanboying right now over this car, but I think it's just absolutely incredible. One thing that I wanted to talk about also is just kind of Koenigsegg as a company and Christian von Koenigsegg himself. Now, Christian von Koenigsegg, I don't know how old he is, but he started Koenigsegg in the mid-90s, I think. And he had no engineering background and no mechanical design background. So he wanted to build a car with no experience whatsoever. So he had people invest in his designs and his ideas. And sure enough, you know, that they built the first prototype, and then before you know it, Koenigsegg had their first model of car out. I can't remember what the first prototype was called, but the first production car that Koenigsegg released was called the CC8S. And I clearly remember when this car first came out, because it was, I would always get those DuPont Registry magazines every month, and one of the main page headlines was Koenigsegg CC8S, the Veyron killer. And so that was a big deal back then, because the Veyron had just been released in like 2005, and that was a big deal for a car to be of the same performance level as the Bugatti Veyron. And through the years, you know, Koenigsegg developed more cars. You know, after the CC8S, they came out with the CCX, and then from there they came out with the CCXR, which is a car that runs on biofuel, which is pretty neat. And then they came out with the Regera, which is like their newest and latest and greatest car. I mean, if you don't consider their kind of one-off or special edition cars. But, you know, now they have the Koenigsegg 1-to-1, which is, you know, 1 horsepower for every 1 kilogram of weight, which is incredible. And then they have, you know, now they just released the Regera RS, which is a kind of slightly tuned up version of the Regera. And then they have the Regera. And in Swedish, or yeah, that's the language, I'm pretty sure. Regera means to reign, or reign over, and that's definitely what this car does. And you know, the Regera only has a 250 mile-an-hour top speed, but that's not really their claim to fame with this car. I mean, yes, 250 miles per hour is incredibly fast, but it's not, you know, a Veyron killer. I mean, the first edition Veyron could hit 258 on their test track. Their claim to fame with the Regera is the fact that it can go from 0 to its top speed in 20 seconds. Now that's crazy, and that's because the acceleration from this direct drive system, from the instant torque of the electric motors, coupled with the 1100 horsepower of the twin turbo V8, it creates some insane acceleration numbers, and that's what gets the car going from 0 to its top speed so fast. So that's kind of what their claim to fame is with this car. And you know, I've always loved Koenigsegg, and the reason is because, you know, Porsche, they've been around for however long. Ferrari, they've been around for however long, and same thing with McLaren. You know, they're multi-million-dollar companies, or maybe close to billion-dollar companies. Koenigsegg was started from one man. I mean, yes, all companies are started from one man, but you know, starting a car company is not an easy thing. And the fact that he did it with no experience in automotive design or engineering is just that much more spectacular. And you know, they started in a small warehouse, and actually their warehouse burned down, and their entire factory burned down. I can't remember how long ago. Ooh, a GT2, that's nice. But anyways, so their factory burned down, so they kind of had to start from scratch. And where their factory is now, it's in Ängelholm, Sweden. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I think that's what it's called. And they basically relocated into the hangar the hangars of an old Swedish Air Force base, and the squadron that they moved into the squadron that used to use the hangars that they currently use as their factory, you know, had some sort of ghost symbol, and the ghost symbol is now put on all of the Koenigsegg cars to kind of honor that Swedish Air Force squadron. And I thought that was pretty cool, and it just shows you that, you know, if you have determination, you know, you can do anything and then, you know, be up there competing with the big boys, you know, like McLaren and Porsche and Ferrari. And I would easily take a Koenigsegg over a P1 or a LaFerrari or a 918. I just think they're spectacular cars. They produce some insane sound, and I just love them. And they're just so, I love the looks, and it's like nothing else. And don't even get me started about the doors. Like, the doors are just like something out of, you know, the future. You wouldn't even, like, the fact that they work the way they do, you wouldn't think they would work properly. So I thought that was just really cool. So getting back to a little bit more about the Regera itself, they're only going to make 80 of these cars, so it's going to be a pretty limited run mega car, and that's just going to be really cool. You know, it's going to increase the exclusivity of it. I don't know if I'll ever see one. The only Koenigsegg I've ever seen in my life is a black CCX, and that was like 8 years ago. I've seen that car twice, once in San Diego at Symbolic Motors and once in Las Vegas. Anyways, that's a off tangent. But so the Regera, I think, is going to retail for $1.8 million, and you know, for a car of that level, you know, with the performance it gives, I think that's a pretty reasonable number. And I mean, it's more expensive than a lot of the other cars out there, like way more expensive than the P1 and the 918, but you know, you get so much and so much engineering in one car. And because this system, this direct drive system, has never been used before. This is the first of its kind. And you know, you could be worrisome about that, the fact that, you know, well, what if there's problems, you know, what happens, you know. But I think it's just spectacular that this system has finally been created. And one thing that Christian von Koenigsegg mentioned in Shmi 150's video is he thought of this idea in the beginning of last summer. So that's less than a year ago that he just had a thought in his head, and he said, oh, let's create a mega car that uses this direct drive system. That's pretty spectacular, and I was pretty awed when I heard that. The fact that he can go from idea to actual finished product in less than a year and debut it at Geneva was pretty cool. Now, talking about the Regera a little more, the only thing I didn't really like about the car were the wheels. Some people liked them, some people didn't like them. They kind of have like a biohazard design that's kind of like the wheel shape, I guess. But I just wasn't a fan of them. I like their kind of turbine-looking wheels that they use on a lot of the Regeras. But you know, that's just one part of the car. And those wheels are also, you know, made of carbon fiber, and Koenigsegg has kind of pioneered the industry for making carbon fiber wheels. Like when they came out, I think it was on the 1-to-1, when they first came out with the carbon fiber wheel, you know, they had some guy, after they made one, he was, you know, picking up with his pinky and throwing it up in the air. So that was just pretty cool. You know, Koenigsegg has pioneered a lot of things. They've done some pretty spectacular things, and now they just kind of stepped the game up even more with the Regera. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this car. You know, I've kind of ranted or not ranted, but I've raved about this car, and I'm sorry if I fanboyed over it, but I think it's just really cool. And you know, I hope you guys think it's really cool too. And I'm excited to see these cars finally, you know, coming out in all their different colors and variants and stuff like that, because it's, you know, it's a groundbreaking technology that will lead other car makers to use the same in the future. And you know, it's a cool technology that can be utilized with how, you know, modern technology has evolved over the years. And so anyways, guys, you know, I keep kind of going on about this car, but I kind of want to do a little vlog and kind of discuss this car and you know, see how you guys like it, and maybe I'll keep doing it for other cars too. I was gonna do one on the Pagani Huayra, and at first I kind of wanted to see how this video does and the response it gets, because you know, this car just came out a few weeks ago. So if you guys like this video, definitely let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are about the car, because I'm curious to hear what you guys think. And if you guys haven't already, definitely subscribe to the channel. There are going to be, you know, car videos, you know, exotic cars. And then if you guys already watched, you know, there's the go-kart build that's going on. So that's definitely something to follow up on and get caught up on, because that's going to be really cool. And especially once we get the finished product, we're going to be creating all sorts of videos with the go-kart. So like I said, guys, subscribe, comment, like, and thank you all for watching. I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you in the next video.